instructions on how many seats we needed, and instead of adding seats, they reduced the number of seats. And Ben just looked at me as though he was going to, because he had taken the chairs away, right? We're waiting for Professor Bauer and Professor Thaler. I expect them to be even later than they usually are, because instead of coming from San Francisco, I think Dr. Thaler's coming from Forestville.
Yes.
I do want to remind you, I don't know whether they're set up yet or not, but the bookstore will have Dr. Thaler's book.
Dr. Bauer.
I'm sorry, Dr. Bauer's book, Max Joseph. Rethinking the Holocaust outside, and I have every reason to believe that he will sign that book for you if you purchase it. Do any of you have your texts with you? He probably will sign your text for you as well. He was, I think one of the reasons that he agreed to come to Sonoma County was not only the prestige associated with the lecture series, but also the fact that 100 students were using his textbook. So just relax, and if you don't know your person sitting next to you, introduce yourself. Watch my hair. Gene Kravitz is going to, Dr. Bauer is going to be speaking in San Francisco again tomorrow. So if you don't get enough of him today.
Establishing a carpool. I will be going down. I'll be glad to take any students or any members of the community, fill out my car. See me after the lecture.
When and where?
Oh, yeah, okay.
What we're going to do is allow Professor Bauer to take some time to
He's fine.
compose. And I know there's several of you who have mentioned to me, is Dr. Taylor going to be here too? Dr. Taylor going to be here too. And
Me?
yes, I would personally like to, you know, this series is very intense, and arranging for speakers, especially since we're not Harvard or Berkeley, often we have to rely on our friends to help us. And as I mentioned to you, Dean Leader has been most instrumental in facilitating both Miko Alam coming and Jerry Fowler from the museum in Washington. And I can't even begin to express how thankful I am to Dr. Thayer for Dr. Bauer to be here. And because I believe that they are friends on some level. That
We're not friends forever, though.
not friends. That I've asked him to introduce Dr. Bauer for you. So, Dr. Macon Thayer.
Well, we're used to it. As I said, this is very comfortable for me because I just spent 2 months every Thursday lecturing to the Lifelong Learning Institute on integrated medicine. And let me tell you, there's been a tremendous reduction in the average age. So we're going in the right direction. Anyhow, I'm up here to introduce, yes, Myrna was...
The Armenian genocide in World War I, several other incidents afterwards, and during World War II, the Germans committed 3 genocides, at least according to that definition, clear genocide. There were others that are sort of problematic, but could perhaps be included as well. The 3 are the genocide of the Poles, the genocide of the Gypsies, and the genocide of the Jews. They were done by the same people against the background of a basic similar ideology, but with a different motivation, and the differences in ideology are very important. So, what is common between the Holocaust and other genocides? First of all, the suffering of the victims. There is no gradation of suffering. Child murder is child murder. Torture is torture. Deprivation is deprivation. And mass murder is mass murder, whether you do it with, it's not only Jews, but the Jews were at the bottom rung of these camps. They were beyond any kind of element that should sometimes perhaps be still kept alive. Ultimately, they were all to go. And before they were murdered, they would be humiliated totally. And this is something which I find very disturbing and also very, as I said, unprecedented. Now, there are 5 elements, in my view, where the Holocaust goes beyond genocides that preceded it. But when I say there are 5 elements that are unprecedented, what I'm saying, in fact, that the Holocaust is a precedent. There was nothing like that before that. Doesn't guarantee that there won't be something like that after. Don't ask a Jew who the Jews are. They will never agree with their explanation with each other. I'm a Jew myself, so I know. But you see, the Jews are a culture, a civilization. I mean, that's obvious. Whatever else they are. And they've been around for an awful long time. As a culture, as a civilization, not genealogically. We've got white Jews and black Jews and brown Jews and all kinds of people and mixed and all the rest of it. But the culture, the civilization, is the same kind of stream, interpreted in different ways, of course. And the Jews are the only remnant of the civilizations that produced in the Western world, in the Christian Muslim world, the Christian Muslim world. Because the Greeks are no more, people who live there speak a different language. Modern Greek is not ancient Greek, like with maladies of different kinds. You don't treat different maladies with the same aspirin. Now you deal with it, and I'm talking in front of my friend the doctor, you are dealing it with some kind of medicine, okay, fine. And the basis of medicine, I suppose, is similar. You try to diagnose and try to find a cure and so on. But you don't treat cholera and typhoid with the same medicine. And so you have to find out the details. Not because the details in themselves will give you the answers, but because without the details you will not be able to get the basis for a future answer. Now, what did I find when I re-examined what I myself had written? It is that the Jewish reaction, dissimilar as it was in different countries, yet had similar. And that, of course, colors your realization of what happened during the Holocaust. Now, again, this is Poland. This is completely different to Romania, or to Hungary, or to Yugoslavia, or to France, or to the Netherlands. But if you are a scholar of the Holocaust, you've got to deal with all of that. You can't run away from it. You can't read the languages, at least you have to read the secondary literature, as much of it as you can. And then you find that there is a dialectical situation there. The Jews are both very, very different in different countries and very, very similar. And there's no contradiction between them. I'll give you an example of the similarity. One of the outstanding characteristics, quite unique to the Jewish people at that period of time, was the existence of so-called Israel, is the exact opposite of the truth. The Holocaust destroyed the possibility of a much safer and more massive immigration of Jews into what they saw as their ancestral country, and the creation there of a community that could maintain itself much safer than it did. Now, it is true that the remnants of European Jewry that arose out of the Holocaust and were concentrated between 1945 and 1951, too, in the formerly enemy countries, Germany, Austria, and Italy, that they, 250,000, out of 350,000, the other 50,000 were spread in the towns and in Western Europe. 300,000 Jews who pressed on the Western Allies to go somewhere, came out to deport into the Arctic Circle. Together with the idea of invading the Soviet Union, we are talking now of late 1940, early 1941. And the idea of a final, what they call the final solution, in other words, the mass murder of the Jews, developed throughout the year 1941. Many historians, not all of them, believe that the crucial time is the fall of 1941, winter of 1941, into 1942, so developed by stages. But by 1942 it was quite clear to them that they wanted to murder every single Jew in Europe. And we have plenty of evidence to show that they were now saying, well, anywhere, everywhere, with the help of our allies. Example, there were 18,000 Jews from Central Europe who fled to Shanghai in China, which is not exactly Europe. And pretend you are a non-Jew, or survive somehow by miracle, really, the concentration camp if you were caught and put into a camp. Now, we now have a very, very recent research, I was handed a PhD handed in a month ago, about the Lublin area, which is the area where most of Polish Jews were murdered. The area of Lublin. It's in southeastern Poland. And the researcher, on the basis of a very extensive documentary research, found that the alternatives to be caught were really, let's say, minimal. To hide with the neighboring population was almost, not quite, but almost impossible, because the population was scared of the Germans. They wouldn't hide Jews, or didn't like Jews anyway, and wouldn't accept them. The option of resistance, and in Lublin there was, and so I say, yes, there were 3 genocides. And in that book, commercial now, waiting for your dollars outside, in there I had a speech which I gave to the German Parliament in January 1998, in which I said exactly that. Because when I talk to my German friends, and the Germans today are not the Germans then, forget it. When I talk to my German friends today, I can talk to them in language that we can both relate to. It was a genocidal period, it was a genocidal regime. It may have had a future in other genocides too, and the Czechs, for instance, will argue that there was a genocide of the Czech people as well, and this is problematic, could work either way. But it's absolutely certain that according to the convention, these 3 sir, the young man.
Yeah, you preface your remarks by underscoring the importance of comparative analysis. Given that, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about the Black Book of Communism, which has recently scandalized the left in Europe and I think even here in the States.
Well, the Black Book was written during the war. It was suppressed by the communist regime. It was sent to Israel by underground means. It was there translated and then retranslated and then published in the end. That's the original. Actually, there were 2 black books, but never mind the details now. The Black Book is well, it's a condemnation really of what happened in that place. And today this is nothing, this is old news. There is a difference between communism and Nazism. It's a see, even in the worst behavior as a totalitarian regime, it is responsible actually for many more deaths than the Nazis internally. But it never planned the annihilation, total annihilation of groups. Even when they deported the Chechens, for instance, to Siberia, they deported 1.5 million Chechens and 1 million came back. And I will have you know that as far as the Chechens are concerned, the Chechens actually did collaborate with the Germans. And in fact, villages of Chechens were established in what's today Belarus, Belarusia, in order to help the Germans suppress the Belarusian population. So, the Volga Germans, on the other hand, were really loyal to the Soviet Union because they were not new Germans, they were old Germans. Before, they were deported to the east and then they came back. It is not the same as what the Nazis did to the Jews or even to the Gypsies and the Poles. Something.
Tell me later. Save them. Yeah, we gotta save them. Mike, rescue them.
Me? It's your problem.
I'm gonna run out and fight Steve to the reception.
We're ready.
Okay. Okay. Good. Oh, no problem.
Are you ready for this? Is
I have no idea. I don't think so.
that a pen right there?